Welcome to Ben's Top 30. And when I was a kid, people's career choices weren't determined by society. You know, I was reading the comments on some of my videos. I remember one where somebody said, "How about you make a video on your favorite Tex Avery cartoons?" I then thought, "Are you kidding? That's stupid. I would never do that." Nah, I was actually like, "Heck yeah, that's an awesome idea." I mean, Tex Avery is only my favorite cartoon director of all time. I can't die peacefully knowing that I didn't make a video about him during my YouTube years. What about your salute you made on your Puffy Zillman 4 account? I mean a good video on him. Anyway, seeing as how Tex Avery has made so many great cartoons that I've always wanted to talk about, I made a list of my 30 favorite cartoons that he's made. Seeing as how I hate repeating myself, I didn't include cartoons by him that I talked about on my favorite Looney Tunes cartoons list. Anyway, let's not waste any more time. Get ready to be searching for cartoons on YouTube. Here are my top 30 favorite Tex Avery cartoons. Number 30, Circus Today. Starting off with one of his Warner Brothers cartoons. This cartoon is basically a documentary parody that takes a humorous look at a circus. I love this cartoon because I love going to circus site? I loved going to the circus as a kid, so this cartoon gives me a sense of nostalgia. Just tack that onto the list of things that make me feel nostalgic. Anyway, since this is a Tex Avery cartoon, he gets a gag out of everything he can get a gag from. If you watch this cartoon for the first time, you're not going to know what's going to happen. You're constantly being overran by lots of unexpected gags. My favorite gag in this cartoon involves a gorilla. I'm not going to give it away, but it'll have you sewing yourself back together from laughing. Bottom line, Circus Today is an underrated cartoon, and a cartoon that makes me wonder why none of the Looney Tunes Golden Collection DVDs never had a disc dedicated strictly to Tex Avery's cartoons. I mean, really? Speedy Gonzales gets his own DVD, but the man who created the trademark Warner Brothers humor is shoved to the side? What the heck is wrong with you, Warner Home Video? Number 29, Aviation Vacation. This is another documentary parody that Tex Avery was known for. This cartoon basically takes us on a trip to several parts of the world and gets hilarious gags from all the countries that are visited. I'm a sucker for these travelogue cartoons. I remember Cartoon Network airing lots of these cartoons all the time, and I remember laughing at the gags as a kid. That's right, I was a smart kid and was able to get the jokes in these cartoons. However, this is one that I think never aired on Cartoon Network because a fraction of it takes place in Africa, so you see some African tribe stereotypes. People, it was a different time. Please, stop censoring cartoons. Just stop! Anyway, this is one hilarious cartoon. Of course, all of Tex Avery's cartoons are hilarious, and this one is one of my favorites of his Looney Tunes cartoons. My favorite gag involves an Irishman singing a song in a beautiful voice, but there is an animated hair caught in the projector. The man can't take it anymore, and he shouts, "Hey you up there! Get that hair out of here!" An animated hand then proceeds to take the hair out. The gag gets funnier every time I see it. I love the sudden contrast between the man's singing and shouting voices, and I love how the gag is making fun of the fact that it was common for hairs to get stuck in film projectors at the time. Anyway, there are plenty more humorous gags in this cartoon that I can't talk about. Why, you may ask? Well, it's a benefit in Tex Avery's talent. He puts so many gags in his cartoons that you forget them when you watch them, so I'm constantly re-watching them to see the gags I forgot about, and it feels like I'm watching a completely different cartoon. It's cartoons like these that show the kind of talent that Tex Avery had. Number 28, Batty Baseball. Yeah, it didn't take long for me to get to the MGM career. Anyway, this cartoon is basically a wacky parody of a baseball game. In typical Tex Avery fashion, everything that can be made fun of is made fun of. The absence of baseball players, the angry fans, the exaggerated reactions of baseball players when they're struck out, and of course, the umpire. My favorite gag involves a man in the crowd yelling, "Kill the umpire." You then hear a gunshot off screen. It's the most hilarious case of be careful what you wish for that I have ever seen. For somebody who's not a baseball fan, I'm surprised I like this cartoon so much. Well, that's probably why I like this cartoon so much. With how boring baseball is, this cartoon gives me an alternative to see what my idea of an entertaining baseball game is. This is a cartoon that you don't have to be a baseball fan to enjoy, and that's another element of Tex Avery's talent. He could take things that not everybody likes and make it to where everybody can get enjoyment out of it. Was there nothing this man couldn't do? Anyway, Batty Baseball is the perfect cartoon for cartoon fans to watch to celebrate the end of every baseball season. Number 27, Little Tinker. This is quite possibly the most Disney-esque of all Tex Avery's cartoons. In this cartoon, adorable skunk gets advice from Cupid to try to find himself a mate. Off-the-wall gags happen from here. This cartoon is basically what you would get if Tex Avery ever directed a Pepe Le Pew cartoon. A lot of the gags involve the skunk scent, and the characters he interacts with react to it in the most humorous ways. My favorite gag in this cartoon involves a series of gags. There's one point where the skunk starts to sing like Frank Sinatra, and every female animal in the forest goes nuts over him. So many gags happen that there's too much to keep track of, and I have no choice but to put that couple of minutes in my favorite part of this cartoon. Anyway, you're probably wondering why I called this the most Disney-esque cartoon Tex Avery directed. Well, that would be because of the ending. Unlike most of Tex Avery's cartoons, this ending doesn't make me laugh. It makes me say, "Aww." I won't give it away, but it's really cute, and something that I wish Tex Avery did more of. Actually, that's probably why I love the ending so much. I'm not used to Tex ending his cartoons in sweet ways like he does in this cartoon, so it makes it all the more heartwarming. That just goes to show, Tex wasn't just an expert at making people laugh, he also knew how to tug at your heartstrings and snap 'em. Number 26, Slap Happy Lion. A lion has gone crazy, and a little mouse tells the story of how the lion was the king of the jungle one day, and then the next day, he's running scared from a mouse. This cartoon showed how much Tex Avery could get from a simple idea. I mean, when you strip it down, the cartoon is pretty straightforward and rather simple, but when you watch the cartoon itself, it doesn't feel that way. There are so many hilarious gags in this cartoon, and in typical Tex Avery fashion, they come at rapid speed. However, they last long enough for you to appreciate them. My favorite gag is the ending. I won't spoil it, but you'll be laughing so hard you'll have a near-death experience. What I love most about this cartoon is, it's the complete 180 the lion goes through. At first, he's the master of his domain, and he has nothing to fear, but then a tiny little mouse starts following him around, and he's running for cover. That's some complex humor there. That's something that I don't see every day, and I laugh at the sheer absurdity of it. Anyway, this is another cartoon that not much of Tex Avery's fans talk about. I think that's a shame. Number 25, Billy Boy. A farmer who's a wolf gets a baby goat dropped off at his house, and he has to take care of it. However, this is one hungry goat. This is one of Tex Avery's lower budget MGM cartoons, but Tex shows how talented he is, and he's able to make a great cartoon even with a low budget. I love this cartoon so much because I love all the creative gags that occur when the goat eats things, and this goat will eat anything and everything. In fact, there's a part in this cartoon where the goat eats part of the animation. That is one hungry Billy goat, 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 goat. No, that wasn't me having a stroke. I was impersonating my favorite character in this short, and that's the wolf. The wolf is a great character. He doesn't have much personality, but he doesn't need one. He's just a southerner with a funny speech impediment and a glutton for bad luck. My favorite gag in this cartoon involves the wolf trying to take the goat somewhere else. He puts the goat in the trunk of his car and starts to drive off. The car then comes to a sudden stop, and the wolf says, "Something's not right here." He opens the hood of his car to show the goat is eating up the engine. He then shuts the hood door, turns to the audience, and says, "Motor's missing." I just love how casually he reacts to that situation. It's a lot more hilarious than an over-the-top reaction would have been. Anyway, Billy Boy is another great cartoon from Tex Avery's later period. Number 24, Drag Along Droopy. In this cartoon, Droopy is a sheep herder who is transporting his sheep across the Old West. He eventually ends up in the wrong town, and a cattle herder wants Droopy off of his land. A cartoony gunfight, chase, and battle all happen from here. This cartoon is a gag extravaganza. Then again, all of Tex Avery's cartoons are. I'm gonna be a mood-killing jerk and say that I'm not a big fan of Droopy as a character. He really doesn't have any personality. He's just a dog that's really polite. However, I do love his cartoons, mostly because his foes are on the receiving end of some of the funniest gags in cartoon history, and this cartoon is no exception. The cattle herder is hilarious. He makes this cartoon. He's really tough and intimidating, but he's easily outsmarted. My favorite gag in this cartoon involves the cattle herder trying to get his horse to chase after Droopy. He keeps jumping from the second floor of a saloon to land on the horse. Every time he misses, he runs back up to the second floor and tries again. Eventually, he gives up and just calls for a taxi. Tex Avery was right. You can do anything in a cartoon, even having a taxi cab in the Old West. Anyway, this is one of my favorite Droopy cartoons, and one that teaches me how to make comedic villains hilarious. Number 23, The First Bad Man. It's modern-day Dallas, Texas, as Western movie legend Tex Ritter narrates how the first Dallas jail was created. He tells the story of old Dinosaur Dan, the world's first bad man. I don't know what it is about this cartoon that I love so much, but it's just one well-made cartoon. I like how even though it's about Dinosaur Dan, it takes its time before Dan shows up. Until then, it shows how people were like in Dallas during the prehistoric times, and some creative and hilarious gags come out of it. My favorite gag is when it shows how neighborly people in Dallas were at the time, as two cavemen then proceed to hit each other over the heads with clubs while they catch up with each other. Tex Avery was the master of contradictory humor. The best way I could describe this cartoon is, think of SpongeBob BC if it was shorter, didn't cause you to fall asleep, and was actually funny. I always loved cartoon plotlines that deal with prehistoric times because it's always entertaining to see how the cavemen lived their lives back then, and to see that they weren't so different from us. Anyway, The First Bad Man is another Tex Avery cartoon that not many animation buffs seem to hold in high regard, but I have a soft spot for it. Number 22, Red Hot Riding Hood. In this updated retelling of Little Red Riding Hood, the wolf is a playboy who loves looking at good-looking women, and he's going to the local nightclub to see Red, who's a famed showgirl. When the wolf tries to get hot with her, she runs to her grandma's house, and the grandma has plans for the wolf. It was impossible for me to not include this cartoon on the list. I mean, it's Tex Avery's most famous cartoon, and I couldn't think of a better cartoon to represent him in the general public. What Tex Avery did best, on top of all the other amazing things he did, was take old ideas and update them to make them a dash of fresh animation. He's able to take a well-known fairy tale and make it something more that I'm sure anybody else could never do. Only Tex with his humorous mind could pull this cartoon off. So, what can I say about this cartoon that hasn't been said already? The gags are brilliant, the animation is breathtaking, and the characters feel so human. The wolf is basically the womanizer everybody has met in his or her own lifetime. Red is the woman that every guy wants a piece of, and Grandma is the woman that every guy tries to run from. There's too many good things about this cartoon to talk about. If you haven't seen it, then get out of here! Never watch my videos again! Oops, sorry. What I meant to say was, pause this video and go watch this cartoon now. This is a cartoon that every cartoon fan needs to see. Number 21, The Cuckoo Clock. In this cartoon, a cat is going completely bonkers as he tries to catch the bird inside of the cuckoo clock. Here's a cartoon that I love so much that I have to see it again. But I can't. Why, you may ask? Well, it's because it was removed off of YouTube. Come on! Seriously? What is the big deal with having things on a website that you can't see anywhere else? It's not like you're losing any money off of it because you're not airing it on TV, Warner Brothers. You know what would solve this problem? If you put Tex Avery's MGM cartoons on DVD. I mean, seriously, what's taking so freaking long? Tex Avery DVD should have been a high priority to get released since the device was created. Come on, my VHS tapings from Boomerang aren't going to last forever. I need DVDs! Please! Anyway, with my vague memory, I still love this cartoon. I love how it's really similar to an Edgar Allan Poe poem. The atmosphere is grim, while the cartoon is lighthearted. Plus, I love the design of the bird. It looks like what you would get if Woody Woodpecker and the dodo had an offspring together. Plus, Tex Avery loves to play with figures of speeches in this cartoon, but not as much as a future cartoon on this countdown. So, from the little I remember of it, the Cuckoo Clock is a unique Tex Avery cartoon that I would recommend to you, if it was on YouTube. Truck you, copyrights! Well, that's it for this week. Tune in next week for part 2.